Is it actually people taking advantage of your kindness, or is it actually that you're just doing something to get something? Yesterday, I found myself reflecting on how I've held relationships where I've given and given and given and given and given. And I was thinking, I was like, wow, I've been taken advantage of. My kindness has been taken advantage of. And then I found myself sitting with something really uncomfortable that I didn't really previously see. I've done enough work on myself to know very well and closely the codependent dynamics that I have played out in my own life, right? And specifically, that works in a way where you're doing things to get things. You're not doing things because you want to. Hell no. Codependents oftentimes do things that they don't want to do to get something, usually to get, I'll call it codependent supply. Uh, Validation, approval, beliefs of, or feelings of worth that are rooted externally, right? Um, but yeah, I was really sitting with it, and I was like, my kindness was taken advantage of in this time, right? No names, of course, but it was just fascinating because something in me went deeper and was like, no, dude, it wasn't a matter of you being kind and your kindness being taken advantage of. You were doing something to get something. That's the reality of it. And it was challenging for me to sit with that because it was like, but no, I'm a kind person and my kindness was taken advantage of. No, 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 no. It's not that you're not a kind person. It's not. It's just that there's been at least one point in my life that I can reflect on and realize that I was doing something to get something. That's manipulative. It's abusive, and this is the reason why. I mean, I'm not here shaming myself. I'm not here, I'm just simply reflecting and being like, oh, yeah, I did something to get something. I did this to get love. That is manipulative. That is abusive. The most important thing is that I can actually sit with it and I can, sit in the humility and get humble about it and be like, oh, yeah, that's not healthy. Let's not continue to do that, right? But let's also recognize it for what it actually is. And that is the intention of doing something to get something, right? Um, and I have had these instances throughout my life, right? When you, and this corresponds with the video that I made yesterday, I believe it was, on the subject of worth, right? When you believe that your worth is extrinsic, it's rooted in something or someone out there, um, you're going to try to get whatever it is out there, whether a person or a thing, to fill that void of insecurity that you're only worthy if you have that thing out there, right? And so that's the thing. A lot of times with people that are like codependent, obviously, co the very first part of that word, co-dependent, right? You are co-dependent on something out there, right? It's not just in yourself, it's not just in your frame, it's something out there. You believe that you need something out there to be worthy, right? Your worth lies in something out there, right? So you're going to do something or multiple things to get that worth, right? So, and I'm not here to say that there haven't been times throughout my life where I was kind and my kindness was taken advantage of. But I am at a point in my life where I'm unbelievably fucking aware of myself. I've done a lot of work on myself, and I'm just recognizing that there have been times with people that I have. This takes humility to accept and admit, where where I've been manipulative, and that has been an abusive dynamic. And that manipulation was, I am doing this or that to get this or that, rather than because I want to. So any attempts at me to recognize or try to believe, I think that's a better way of putting it, try to believe that that was me being kind and somebody else taking advantage of that, seeing it for what it actually is rather than what I want to believe that it is the most important thing. Am I a kind person? I would argue so. Have I also done things to get things? Yes, absolutely. Have I mistaken that as kindness being taken advantage of? Yes, I have. What's the reality? Yeah, the reality is experiences of codependency where I've believed that whatever I need is out there, and therefore I'm going to do things to fulfill those voids of insecurity of, oh, well, my worth is in that person, that thing, right? I'm going to do things that I don't want to receive that worth, right? Um, that's not, I mean, I don't want to call it not kindness, but what I am going to say is that if you do something to get something because you believe that it has something that you need, it doesn't. It doesn't. It really doesn't. Nobody else has what your worth is intrinsic. Your sense of love is intrinsic, right? Believing that it's somewhere out there is only going to fuck you up more. It's not the reality of things. It's not accurate. And I mean, take this from me. I've had years of experience with all of these dynamics that are unhealthy, of doing a fuck ton of things to get validation and approval, right? Um, if you do like a favor for somebody, right, and your intention is to do it to get validation or approval, right? And not just because you're trying to help the person out, right? Because you care about them, they're your friend or whatever it is, right? Um, that's just the reality of it. So when your kindness was actually, no, I'll say it the other way around. When it actually wasn't kindness, right? Maybe that's not, maybe that's not even helpful either. Um, I'll just say it this way. When you were actually doing something to get something, and that thing that you were doing was something that you didn't want, and that thing that you were trying to get was validation, approval, um, worth, I'm just going to call it for what it is, manipulative, which becomes abusive, you know. Um, not saying that people aren't kind, not saying that I'm not kind. I am, but I also recognize my own shit and fucked upness and fucked up dynamics. And um, actually, last night something happened. No names, but I recognized that I was repeating a pattern, um, and it entailed what I believe was triangulation, um, including myself. People were talking about someone else, and I became aware of the dynamic, and I was like, yeah, I like in my own mind, I was like, yeah, I want to stop doing that. It's not healthy. It doesn't matter how familiar I am with that, how comfortable I am with that. Um, it's not healthy. And again, no names. I don't do that, but which I guess would considerably be me halting triangulation. Um, but yeah, doing things to get things is not good or bad, but just understanding why you're doing it. The most important thing is to understand why you're doing what it is that you're doing, regardless of whatever it is that you're doing. Um, it literally transforms how you see yourself and how you approach things and people. That's just the reality of it. So, um, yeah, when you think that your kindness is being taken advantage of, maybe it is, right? But any time that I do, I'll end off with this. Any time that I do hear somebody say that, like now as I reflect on it, like every time that I have heard somebody say that, like now I think about it and it's like, well, do you have healthy boundaries? If you got to the point where you believe that your kindness was being taken advantage of, I would argue that there's a really good chance that you just don't have healthy boundaries. You don't know when to stop giving, right? Because healthy boundaries allow you to realize when it is that you need to stop. I mean, you already know when it is, so therefore you're prepared to give as much as you are prepared to give, and that's it, right? Um, yeah, maybe it's not your kindness being taken advantage of, and maybe it's just um, you believing that your worth, your validation, your approval is somewhere out there in somebody else, and you're actually doing things, maybe even things that you don't want to do, to get that validation, that approval, that worth. And I'm going to call it for what it is: manipulative and abusive, um, unhealthy altogether. And not to like throw labels on anything or anything, but like on the subject of codependent supply, I'm gonna leave that there.